would you like to be able to heal through self-hypnosis? Elizabeth Catherine Slomka will tell us how. She's a hypnotherapist certified in past life regression, and she's a Reiki master as well. So Elizabeth, tell us, how can entrepreneurs heal through self-hypnosis, and why should they consider doing it? Heal Podcast with Lily Patrascu shares longevity and anti-aging techniques to stay young forever, increase energy, overcome addiction, and live your longest, best life ever. Shared by world's most innovative, alternative, and traditional health thought leaders, healers, and doctors. Discover quantum healing strategies to heal your mind, body, and soul.
So, if you look into the research right now about sleep and all the things that are happening that are so amazing for your brain when you go to sleep, and all the processing that you do while you're sleeping. So if you have a traumatic experience, for example, you're not going to process that experience until you go to sleep, which is why you get so tired, So our brain processes new information while we're in these rest states. So even if you're, say if you're driving in your car, you have those moments where you just end up at home. So that's a light hypnotic state. And in those states, we have this ability to process information that we don't have in our waking states. So that really opens us up to be able to, first of all, process the things that we've been going through while we're awake, when we're in hypnosis. And we can also go deeper and start to uncover the things that are blocking us and holding us back from achieving our goals or healing or really anything you want to learn about yourself. When you get into that state of hypnosis, that's the clearest state of thinking that you actually can get into.
Thank you. So tell us, how can entrepreneurs get into a self-hypnosis state? What is your blueprint for them to get there?
So self-hypnosis, you can get there on your own by using hypnotic techniques. So you start by relaxing the top of your head, and then you just sort of move down. It's called a progressive relaxation. So you're saying, and when I do it for myself, and you can do it with a guide as well. So on my podcast, that's what we do. We do hypnosis sessions and where we guide you into a self-hypnosis state. So what you would do is you'd start at the top of your head and sort of relax each part of your body. And you even can talk to yourself. You say, okay, relax the top of your head. You act like your own hypnotherapist. Okay, now relax your eyes and just move down your body, thinking of everything. If you find a tense spot in your body, you make sure you say, okay, relax that shoulder. And you can even talk to yourself and you say, oh, it's really starting to feel really nice to relax. And it's kind of silly, but it works, and then you do a countdown and you say, okay, this is the traditional hypnosis, thing that you might see on TV. I'm going to count from 5 to 1. And with each number, we're going to relax deeper and deeper and deeper. And then so you count yourself 5, relaxing even more, and then you keep counting yourself down. And then once you get into a really nice, relaxed state, from there, you can, if you're doing it on your own, repeat an affirmation, something that you want to change, I am fearless. You go positive, though. You will never say, I don't have any fear. You'll go, I am fearless. You don't want to, because your brain will latch on to whatever it is you're saying, and they'll avoid the negative. So if you just actually close your eyes and you think to yourself, I am not fat. What comes up? An image of yourself fat, right? That's what's going to pop into your head. It's not going to be the opposite. So instead, you want to say the positive, I am thin. And then you see an image of yourself looking thin. So then from there, so once you get into a nice relaxed state, you would go and insert your positive affirmation and just sort of repeat it to yourself. And for me, what I would suggest is let it take its own course. If things start coming into your mind, follow that and see where it goes, Don't just stop at the affirmation. Let it tell its story, and maybe it'll reveal to you things that are holding you back from achieving whatever your affirmation is.
Thank you. Tell us, what did entrepreneurs that you've worked with achieve through this self-hypnosis method?
So a lot of people that come to me are looking for a deeper sense of self, really, a deeper understanding of who they are, and maybe what's happened in a past life that's holding them back from something. I've worked with myself a lot and it's funny because people don't come to me often for hypnotherapy wanting to further their careers as much. They want to further themselves. And from there, you're building a base for your own identity and for your own self-worth. And And from there, you can launch anything. So if you want to further your career, work on your self-worth and how much you feel you're worthy of what you're working toward, and build that. And then the rest of it naturally comes. Personally, though, I have worked myself with my other business. We have a painting business, and we've built it from a one-man operation to, a large painting company using all these techniques. And so we use a lot of techniques for building wealth. And I say I have to use the example of ourselves because people truly don't come to us for this. And it's really kind of fascinating to me. I have a couple money podcast episodes, and they don't get nearly as many downloads as the self-growth ones. So for us, when I was building our painting company, we did a lot of work around releasing negative thoughts about money, negative ideals about finances. We were all raised differently, and some of us were raised with endless abundance, and some of us were raised with a little bit less, more fear around money and more, well, you can't do this because you'll do that, and, all that tension. So we did a lot of work on releasing a lot of that tension around finances. And honestly, there's a spiritual component too, where we call in the money and the jobs and the work. And, when you're an entrepreneur, the sky's the limit. You can do anything. You can build as big as you can imagine. And really it's about expanding your mind to be able to see what the next step is, and not going too far all at once. So if you want to build your business from, a one-man painting gig where you're running out and you're doing jobs and you're doing estimates, and it's a rat race, and you want to build to a business that has multiple crews, and you're just sitting at home and writing a couple estimates and you have a ton of free time. Maybe you can't imagine, because you're so in the rat race, you can't imagine, we call it getting out of the bucket. I don't know if anybody's ever read that book, but it's a great entrepreneur book, getting out of the bucket. So if you want to get out of the bucket, which essentially means stop being your entire labor force and your everything, it might seem impossible, right? Yeah, it might seem impossible to get to the point where you're hardly working because you're so in it. You can't get your mindset out of that. You don't want to look at the end at that moment. You want to say, what can my mind actually achieve? Like, what do I believe I can achieve? You can't achieve anything that your mind can't believe it achieves. So let's take the money example. So if you want to become a millionaire, great, and hold that goal. But if you've got $600 in the bank and you're saying, I want to be a millionaire, your brain most likely, and this is not for, I'm sure there's like a 1 in a million people out there who can do this, but for most of us, we can't really truly imagine what that's going to feel like to be a millionaire in that moment. So you say, I want to build up $10,000 in the bank. You focus on whatever it is, wherever your brain, your mind believes it can go, that's where you go. And then from there, you keep notching up. You don't say, I want to go from a one-man painting gig to a multi-million-dollar company. You say, okay, well, within this year, I want to build up to 2 crews, because that's what your mind can believe it achieves. I truly believe we are capable of achieving whatever it is we want to achieve, but our minds don't let us go there. And so we have to match the vibration. And you can do that in hypnotherapy very easily. You get yourself into a hypnotic state, or you work with a hypnotherapist, and then you start to build an image of what that next step looks like. And you start to walk in those shoes, and you start to really embody that feeling. And then the money comes in, the jobs come in, it starts rolling from there. But you have to feel it first. You have to live like you're coming from that place, truly, not just, thinking it a few times. You really have to experience it. And that's what you can do in hypnotherapy, because your mind is able to experience things that feel as real. Some people say 10 times more real, but to me, it feels just as real as if I'm experiencing it for myself. So when you're in this hypnotic state and your hypnotherapist is guiding you to experience what that feels like to be a 3-man painting crew company, or whatever it is that you're moving yourself towards, you actually get that experience, and it almost feels like a future memory when you come out of it. and then you can start to walk back into that feeling in your waking life, and then start to really feel that that's where you're living. And then the energy matches, and the real life catches up with you.
Thank you. What differentiates that are able to manifest like gigantic things? Like, for example, there is this guy, I think he became a billionaire in 1 year during the pandemic, doing the Gymshark business. What differentiates like a titan like that who is able to see like this massive vision and also kind of like make it happen in a very short space of time? And most entrepreneurs that need to kind of take this kind of step-by-step approach where they kind of need to like think more realistically and come up with something that their brain can believe. What's different between the two kind of characters that perhaps people can learn from?
So it's just belief. It's just, if somebody that has the capability to build that fast, they truly believe they can. If you look inside yourself and that's what you are, you go for the $1 million. You go for the multi-million-dollar company all at once. If you truly feel that's where you're living from, it's truly just how much you believe in your abilities in that moment. And it's not like if you don't, you're a failure. It also doesn't mean that you can't move through that multi-million-dollar company in a year by following your steps, because maybe you'll get to 10,000 and be like, whoa, I did that. I can do 10 million. And then you can. You have to really believe it though. And for most of us, that's difficult. It's difficult to really believe in yourself to that degree.
Thank you. So how can someone hypnotize themselves into believing that? Or is that something that entrepreneurs need to be born with?
Maybe a little bit of both, to be honest. Maybe not born with, but some may be born with. I mean, I think of Wayne Dyer, who was born and went into an orphanage, and he learned his lessons that way. And I think a lot of it is what you're brought up into and what you've made out of your life experiences. Like taking Wayne Dyer, who I don't know if you guys know Wayne Dyer, but he's an author and a psychiatrist here in the United States, and just really amazing person. And he wrote Power of Intention, which is another, it's a manifestation type book. And he started his life in an orphanage, and he used to say, I'd find a penny in the ground and I'd pick it up and he'd be like, oh yeah, thanks for this sign of abundance. Like I've got this. And he'd put the money in his pocket and think, okay, I'm going to grow this. And he did. He kept growing and growing and growing and became super successful in his life and is, world renowned. So I think some of it is maybe you're born with it, and some of it is like what you make out of your life experience, and some of it is maybe your natural life path. But I think that the main thread is that you believe in what you can do. You believe in yourself. And that is definitely something you can do with hypnotherapy. And like I said, creating that feeling of what it is that you're ultimately working toward and walking toward that constantly.
Thank you. What would someone say to themselves in order to create this kind of like Titanic level of success? And in order to counteract the limiting beliefs, whatever parents or people nearby said about them that was negative?
So what we do when we work with finances and wealth and entrepreneurship and growing businesses is the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at those beliefs, because it's going to be different for every single one of us. Maybe some of us were raised to think that we weren't smart. Maybe some of us were raised to think that we were always going to be middle class. That's really common. A lot of families raise you thinking, no, this is where you are, and we stay here and we're comfortable here. And that's a fear, that's a fear of success. And maybe it's not a fear of success. Maybe it's a fear of loss. So you have to go and look inside for yourself and see what those are. And that's the first thing we do in hypnotherapy is we go in and we just keep going deeper and deeper in uncovering those layers. And typically it's not a one-off. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. You do this 3 times a week, every week, until you've uncovered all those layers. And then you move on to say, okay, now I'm going to create the abundance. And then you go and envision your exact life, how you want it at your next step. And don't envision it like it's the future. You have to envision it like it's the now. That's really a key step, because if you're envisioning this in the future, you're always walking toward it and you're never catching up to it. You have to walk it. You have to walk that path of who you are in that moment.
Thank you. Tell us about past life regressions, and why would someone consider doing past life regressions as a way to heal and transform their life and business?
So past life regression is very similar actually to what I was talking about with the uncovering anything that's holding you back. And a lot of times we go into a past life and we have an experience that really relates to what we're going to now, or we see somebody in our past life that you can recognize people. Like you look into someone's eyes and you know who they are, or you feel them. Because I know if you have ever been in a room and you know when your partner walks in, because you know that's who they are because you can feel them. So when you're in a past life, it's similar. You can feel what relationships were like, and possibly you can relate, well, not possibly, but definitely you can relate to what's holding you back in this life. So a lot of times when we're doing past life regressions with people, they will little keys to, well, for example, one client went to a past life and discovered that they had been, taken a vow of poverty, and they had to let that go because, you might hold on to that. And then you're thinking, I can't be successful. I can't make income because I have this thing tying me to the past. So we might uncover something like that. Sky's the limit. We don't know what's holding us back. And sometimes these keys, because your life is not this one little window. Your soul has gone on for eons, and it will continue to go on. And so all of those experiences, we don't remember them, obviously, because that would be a lot to hold. It would be so much to carry if you could remember everybody you ever loved or lost or every mistake you ever made. But we hold little threads from those lives. And a lot of times the ones that we're holding are ones that pertain to this life, because we come into this life with a goal, spiritual goal. And the threads that are overlapping are the ones that are most likely pertaining to the threads that we're here, the lessons we've come here to learn. So if you've got a lesson that you have to learn about building a business and becoming successful financially, it's really common, actually. That's something that we have to learn to do throughout our soul journey. Is we have to learn to embolden ourselves to be a successful person. We'll experience everything, right? So if that's one of your challenges in this life and that's something you're working on, chances are you came here to do that. And so you're going to have lessons from other lives that can pertain to what you're learning in this life, or show you what you haven't learned before, show you mistakes that you've made in the past and and then you have the opportunity to correct them in this lifetime.
Thank you. So what's your 10 commandments for someone who wants to heal through self-hypnosis or past regressions?
Well, the first one would be, as I said, with the affirmations, keep it positive, because your mind will just ignore whatever no, not, non, any of the negative words. Your mind ignores it and goes right to the vision of what you're trying not to do. So always keep it positive. The second one would be, I would say, like I said before, always go for what your mind can achieve, can believe it achieve. I wouldn't, if you aim too high and you can't actually envision that, you can't actually feel that, it doesn't work. You have to go to a place where you can feel it, and then you notch up. And then again, the next one would be stay in the present with it. You're not planning your future, you're planning your now. And live like that, because once you start planning your future, you're just chasing that carrot the whole time. So, and then for healing, I say my big, and this is one of my big main messages, is that, we are connected through this love in the universe. The universe wants you to be successful, and the universe wants you to succeed. Whatever it is that you connect to, if it's any type of God, spirituality, each other, love itself, there's a force and an energy out there that connects us all, and that connects us through this love feeling and this supportiveness, and that's out there, and all you have to do is tap into it and ask for it, and it's there for you. So, and that brings all the healing. 100%. The thing that we're all missing is love, self-love, and that feeling of being supported. The support is energetically, it's out there, and we want each other to succeed. When we forget that, that's just because our survival instincts kick in. But if you can think of one person in your life that you wish didn't succeed at what they were doing, I mean, even your enemies, you don't want them to be miserable, So the energy's out there for love and support, and all you have to do is tap into that and be aware of it and ask for the support. So,
thank you. What are some great habits, routines, or apps that entrepreneurs can use in order to implement self-hypnosis better?
That's a great question. So I think that implementing self-hypnosis, find a hypnotherapist that you like. There's a lot out there, and you have to find somebody that you feel like you can trust. And that's really, even if you don't know them, and which is why on my podcast, I talk to everybody. We do a talk session first, because you want your hypnotherapist to connect with you so that you can learn to grow trust. So just somebody that you feel that you can trust. And in hypnotherapy, it's also, excuse me, important to understand that you're in complete control the whole time. It's not like stage hypnosis. The hypnotherapist can't make you do anything that you don't want to do. That's not a reality. So when I say trust them, I just mean trust them to guide you, and trust them to guide you deeper and deeper. And then I would read some Brian Weiss. He's the past life regression master. He's probably the most famous past life regressionist. He was my teacher, and he's still around. He's incredible. If you can go see him talk somewhere, go see him talk. But he talks about hypnotherapy and past life regression from a scientific standpoint. He's a psychiatrist, world-renowned psychiatrist before he was even a past life regressionist. So, but I think that builds trust in the process. Reading his books really helps you understand this from a scientific perspective and from a spiritual perspective. And I think that grows trust in the process. And so that will help you to understand and trust what hypnotherapy is, which will then just help you get relaxed and go deeper. Because without the trust, it's hard to get to that super relaxed state. And that's what you need to get into hypnotherapy, is just that super deep, relaxed state.
Thank you. Tell us where entrepreneurs can connect with you.
Thank you. So I have a podcast, Self-Hypnosis for Healing, and my website is just elizabethcatherine.com, Catherine with a C. And there are all my sessions and stuff you can look at and book with me there. And I'd love to have some of your listeners hop on and join the podcast as well.
Thank you. Follow me for more interviews with world's most innovative health changemakers to live your healthiest life ever.